Present.
Vice Chair Hauser,
Present.
Commissioner Devine,
Present.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Present.
Commissioner Godwin,
Present.
Commissioner Redfield,
Present.
Commissioner Davis.
Present. And Commissioner Redfield, can you lead us to the salute to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Before we get into administrative business, I'm going to read a note on how we're going to conduct public comments this evening. Public meetings are a limited public forum, meaning that there are rules for commenting at these meetings. Comments on non-agendized meetings or items must address matters within the subject jurisdiction of the city, and comments on agendized items must relate to that specific item. If comments do not fall into one of these categories, the city will provide you with an initial warning to stay within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city or on topic. If the warning is not followed, the mayor will direct the city clerk to cut off the microphone, or city staff to cut off the microphone. And throughout this warning system, I will seek the assistance of the assistant city attorney in identifying comments not related to the agenda item or not within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. All right, with that, then let's start administrative business. Order of agenda, is there an approval for the order of agenda, or a motion to approve, rather?
All right. Move we approve the agenda as noted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion by Commissioner Ferguson, seconded by Commissioner Redfield. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thanks. And actually, I usually like to do this before the order of agenda, but I'll do it now. Are there any public comments on administrative business? So we already did order of agenda, so approval of minutes or designation of liaison, which there is none listed. Not seeing any in the room. Are there any hands raised on Zoom?
Chair, there are no raised hands at this time.
Okay, I'll close public comment for administrative business. On to the next thing, approval of minutes. We have the August 4th, 2025 meeting minutes. Are there any comments or perhaps a motion to approve? And I noticed, I think these minutes were vetted a lot better than prior minutes. I know our automated system sometimes misinterprets. I think these minutes read a lot better this time.
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion made by Commissioner Davis, seconded by Commissioner Ferguson. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. Designation of liaison. We have none listed. Is that still the case?
Thinking. That is still the case. We will be doing a study session with City Council on November 22nd related to the triennial building code updates, which I know we haven't discussed here, but just as a maybe more for awareness. And then we are working on a joint study session with City Council in October at a Planning Commission hearing to talk about state law and affordable housing. So that's what's on the horizon.
Thank you. I think we appreciate the heads up, and I know we've had some correspondence with that heads up. Looking forward to those. Any questions related to that? We could also save it for communications at the end. Okay. On to oral communications.
Chair, may I just give a quick reminder?
Yeah.
for staff and commissioners, when you move your microphone, to move it from the top, so to avoid the squeaking.
Got it.
So if you could just move it up and down from the top, that would be greatly appreciated.
Okay. Does everyone want to practice? Oh, so yeah, move it from the corrugated section. All right.
You usually just press the button and have to remember to release it.
Yes.
So, yeah, if you press the button, it silences the mic, you can do that. That's also,
It's also effective. That's what I do. I know I do too.
All right. On to oral communication. So this section of the agenda is an opportunity for the public to speak on and provide comments on items that are not agendized tonight. So if there's anyone in the public with oral communications, there's yellow cards in the back of the room you could populate and hand over to staff over here. Anyone calling in, please follow the prompts on the screen. For dial-in callers, the phone number is 1-669-900-6833, and press star 9 to raise your hand.
Chair, there are no raised hands.
All right, I will close oral communications and on to consent items. Item number 1 is use permit determination for dental office at 55 Bill Drake Way. Recommended CEQA action is NA, and recommended action is accept the planning administrator's decision that no use permit is required. Can we have a staff report, please?
Staff has not prepared a report because it's on consent.
Okay.
But I am available to answer any questions.
I did have a question in looking through, so the staff report summarized in our agenda mentions it's a dental office, but then there was a letter that mentioned it's a chiropractic office. And I wasn't sure if that was just a typo left over or.
Do you have a packet page?
Let me look.
It's actually on page 37 where the determination letter starts. I think the whole determination letter is for 77 Drake in the
Yes.
chiropractic office that we already heard.
Yes, that is definitely an error. This should be the letter for 55 Drake. So this is the letter that gets sent to the applicant with their approval. And I do know that we sent the correct letter to the applicant. I'm sorry about that. We can definitely correct that. The staff report has more detail
Right.
to, whereas the approval letter that was sent summarizes the findings. But I would also be happy to attach that to the minutes for this meeting so that we have the correct copy on the record.
I think that would be great. Thank you. If it's a clarification question, otherwise, I'm going to open public comment for the, okay.
Clarification. So on packet page 35, where you talk about the visitor serving businesses that are in the area, Pedro Point Brewing LLC is actually closed permanently and is occupying this, what previously occupied the Suite A, which is what I think we're talking about, right? Where that's going to be. And there were a couple other businesses listed there that I've never heard of and couldn't find record of on Google when I searched. Just if we're correcting things anyway. And that was Whiplash and Corvin.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome. The dental office, the space that they are moving into has been vacant for quite some time. And if it has been vacant for more than 12 months, that's part of why the use permit determination is needed.
Any other clarification questions before public comment? All right, then I will open public comment for the consent agenda. This is item number 1, the dental office use permit item. And if you have any public comments, the yellow cards can come up to staff. Yeah, thank you.
Good evening. Beautiful day. I live in Valleymar. I'm Ken Miles.
If you could, I'm sorry to cut you off. Please state your name for the
Oh,
record.
I just did that. Ken Miles. And I live in Valleymar. And I'm concerned about the lack of fire consciousness in Pacifica. I know that they identified certain high-risk areas, high fire hazard areas in Valleymar, Pedro Point, Sharp Park, and a number of other places meet that definition. And what I'm concerned about...
I'm sorry to cut you off again. Is this a comment regarding agenda item number 1, the dental
No, I
office?
thought you had... Is this like oral communications?
No, so that was early, a couple of minutes ago, and we closed oral
Well,
communication.
can I talk about it?
I am okay with reopening.
You can reopen. The chair
okay.
can do that, yes.
Yeah. Well, thank
All
you
right.
very much.
So I'll reopen. So
Yeah.
let's file this as oral communication, and if we could reset the time, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. What I would like to talk about is that numerous communities have caught fire, and we're not immune from that. And we have code enforcement officers that do things. Well, one thing, we don't have a code enforcement officer apparently in Pacifica that will go around and check to make sure that the trees that are growing close to houses are removed and are reduced in size, and that people are practicing defensible space for the fires. In fact, some of my neighbors have acacia trees, which, like eucalyptus, will explode, and they also grow pretty large. So what do we do? I've gone to the city council a number of times over the years. I don't think much gets done. There's not an evacuation plan that gets moved out. But as you members of the Planning Commission could start working on something that will be code enforced and get some people on board that'll enforce the codes so we have a safe community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to close oral communications, and I'm going to jump back to consent items and reopen public comment on the consent items. And if anyone has a public comment on item number 1, which is the dental office, you could fill out a card. I'm not seeing anyone jumping up to fill out cards, so is there anyone on Zoom?
Chair, there are no raised hands.
No raised hands. All right, I will close public comment on the consent item, bring it back to the commission for if there are any further clarification questions or a motion on the item.
I just had a couple of questions for staff. Just generally, have there been any reported issues in respect to this existing business in its present location that we know of?
We have not received any complaints in the planning and building.
And one other question, have any parking issues been reported by adjacent businesses or neighbors in the area? The report mentions up to 15 employees at the new business and up to 11 patients at a time. Have there been any complaints on that as far as parking in the past or
None specific to the business.
All right, thank you.
All right. And is there a motion to approve the consent item?
Motion to approve consent? The consent item, sorry.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Is there a vote on it?
Motion made by Commissioner Devine, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. Agenda item number 2, new public hearings. So file number 2025-026, temporary use permit, TUP 1-25, and coastal development permit, CDP 475-25, to maintain a temporary structure to enclose Ocean Shore Railroad Car number 1409, and performance of restoration work on the railroad car on a portion of an existing city-owned parking lot at 1910 Francisco Boulevard, assessor parcel number 016-060-100. Recommended CEQA action is Class 4 categorical exemption, CEQA guideline section 15304, minor alterations to land. Recommended action is approve as conditioned. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Chair Berman. Tonight, presenting on behalf of staff, we have Caitlin Snodgrass, our Associate Planner.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. I will be presenting item 2 on tonight's agenda, file number 2025-026, for the temporary location of the Ocean Shore Railcar to perform restoration work at 1910 Francisco Boulevard. The project site has a 2040 general plan and local coastal land use designation of mixed-use center and a zoning designation of C1 neighborhood commercial and coastal zone combining districts. The project site is an existing city-owned paved parking lot along Francisco Boulevard, serving as free public parking and overflow parking from the city's Civic Center. The Planning Commission has issued 4 temporary use permits to the Pacifica Historical Society for the restoration work of Ocean Shore Railroad Car number 1409, dating back to November 4th, 2019. The rail car has been at its current location of 1910 Francisco Boulevard since the Planning Commission's approval on January 17th of 2023. The Planning Commission last approved a temporary use permit in CDP for the rail car at this site on March 4th, 2024, and the zoning administrator granted 2 6-month extensions, allowing the installation to maintain until September 4th of 2025. Progress made to the rail car includes the following: the installation of plywood sheathing, steam bending of the roof bracing and trim work to the roof, the purchase of 52 glazed safety glass windows, the construction and placement of doors, the purchase and installation of flooring, the primer painting of the exterior, and the purchase and renovation of the trucks or wheels. No permanent site modifications have occurred, and there are no proposed permanent site modifications with this request. The project requires Planning Commission approval of 2 entitlements prior to the commencement of the use: a temporary use permit to allow temporary uses for a period up to 6 months in developed areas, and a coastal development permit to allow development within the coastal zone combining district. In response to public comment, the city's Code Enforcement and Planning Divisions inspected the site this afternoon and believes the site is being used to store materials unrelated to the restoration operations of the rail car. As a result, Planning staff recommends that the Planning Commission incorporates the following condition of approval: all materials stored on the site that are not related to the restoration of the rail car must be removed, and any materials related to the restoration must be safely and properly stored. These actions must be completed within 15 days of Planning Commission approval to the satisfaction of the Senior Code Enforcement Officer. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission finds the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, approves temporary use permit TUP-1-25, and Coastal Development Permit, CDP-475-25, by adopting the attached resolution, including conditions of approval in Exhibit A as modified, and incorporates all maps and testimony into the record by reference. That completes my staff report, and the applicant team, or Pacifica Historical Society, is available to provide an update on the details of their restoration work.
Thank you. Caitlin, do you mind putting the plan back up? It was just really quick, just so folks in the audience have an opportunity to see too. And is there a member of Pacifica Historical Society as the applicant here to speak? Okay. Well, I guess before we get to that, any clarification questions before? Yeah, Vice Chair Hauser.
What is currently being stored out there?
Public comment provided some photos of some bird cages on the site and other materials that appear to be unrelated to the restoration work. Our Code Enforcement Division confirmed that what was provided in the pictures of the public comment is still on the site today. So that's why we recommended the incorporation of that condition of approval.
Got it. And then when I was pressing my request to speak, I accidentally voted, so sorry.
So if we could reset the vote before we forget.
I have a quick question
Thank
for the
you.
city attorney. Could you remind me, recusals based on proximity? It's 500 feet required, 1,000 feet discretionary, right?
It's 500 feet. It's presumed that there is a conflict. Between 500 and 1,000, it depends on the situation of the, and whether there would be an impact on the property values. And given that we really hadn't had a chance to look at it, if anyone is within 1,000 feet, I would just recommend recusal unless there's any concerns with that.
I'm happy to recuse myself. Have a nice night.
All right, for the record, Commissioner Ferguson is recusing himself. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Any other clarification questions before we hear from the applicant?
I guess I have one.
Yep.
Yeah, this project's been going on for a really long time, about 14 years in various guises and through a number of permits and permits extensions. And the date's still pretty uncertain on when it's going to finish. In your opinion, is the city provided a lot of resources to this project relative to others and for this length of time? And it just seems it's out of balance with other things that we do in the city. What's your opinion?
Thank you, Commissioner Godwin. The applicants have paid for the temporary use permit, so they have paying for the staff time to review the project. And then, so I mean, I think that our staff time is one of the biggest resources. Is that what you were asking, or could you clarify?
No, not really.
Okay.
It just seems to me that half a dozen parking spaces for an extended period of time ends up being a significant commitment. And given we're moving along at kind of a slow pace, is this continue to make sense for the city to support the project, given it's going on for some unknown period into the future, or is this, seems really different than the way a lot of things are managed?
I see. Thank you for that clarification, Commissioner Godwin. My understanding is that this project has support from the City Council and from the City Manager's office.
And perhaps when we hear from the applicant, we could hear a little bit about why it has taken so long. Because I do agree, since I joined Planning Commission in 2019, this has come back to us every year and a half or so. So just want to make sure our dedicated parking space, that's a high commodity in Sharp Park, especially for Fog Fest, which is coming up, making sure that, you know, we're actively working towards progress if we have 8 to 10 parking spots dedicated to this. Any other clarification questions before we hear from the applicant? Commissioner Redfield.
If I could just wait until after presentation?
Yeah, that works. And if you're going to move your mic, move it from, yeah, thank you. All right, then we'd love to hear from the applicant. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Deidre Crow. I've called Pacifica my hometown since 1954, and longtime member and board member of the Pacifica Historical Society. Our train project, no one wants it finished more than we do in a timely way, believe me. We've received support from the city, but no monetary support. We've also spent 15 years restoring the Little Brown Church as a museum, and this will also be a museum for the Ocean Shore Railroad, to the delight of Western region rail fans everywhere, which will bring economic development to Pacifica. Our present project is to vet survey engineers, geological engineers, to make sure that we'll have a sturdy foundation for our train when we move it 40 feet north, 40 feet east rather, to the front of the parking lot, which is, as you can see here. And shall we bring this closer to you? Can you see this from here? The train will be in the northeast corner of the lot, and it will be visible from the freeway. And Bob, if you could bring this historical photo. There was mention in the letter from Mr. Ochi that it doesn't have any historical significance in its placement. However, this panoramic photograph from 1912 will show you that there's the Little Brown Church and there's the train. It ran right in front of the Little Brown Church. Of course, there have been a freeway in between since then, but it does have historical significance at that place. The renovation of the part of the lot where we'll put the train finally includes the soils engineer's report, also includes making a bed, creating a bed, gravel, ties, and railroad tracks. We're receiving those from a train group in Petaluma County. Petaluma. And so, Sonoma County. And so those things are funded. We're funded for the immediate, and also the $15,000 permit that the Coastal Commission requires. That's a lot of rummage sales. And we have a monthly rummage sale, and we've completely funded this with generous donations from the community and our own hard work. Are there any questions?
Well, we do still have public comment to open, and I think typically the applicant has 10 minutes of time. So whatever time you have remaining, we could reserve that for a rebuttal after public comment if needed. So if staff...
Certainly. Our construction supervisor and manager, Bob Azara, was with us tonight, and he might also like to add a few comments. Bob?
Hello, everybody. So to answer a question that came up, I think it was a time constraint issue. It's hard to find anyone that knows how to work on the train. There are no qualified carpenters anymore that build trains from the 1900s. So it's hard to find, and not only that, find volunteers to help work on this. And the money is always an issue. So it is a very, very slow and tedious process. It's come pretty far at this point in time. I think this is the most that's happened this year. I think that's happened in the last few years. But this is not being done for anybody's monetary gain. It's not for them. It's not for me. It's for the city. So it has nothing to do with somebody wanting something. It's for the city. And if the Historical Society didn't do this, I don't think the city would have much of anything historical. I can't think of anything historical, of any historical value anyway. So that's, if you have any questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer. You want some, I can get some tools?
And
Come help me.
For the commission's questions, that when we ask you back for questions, that will not take away from your time that you
Right.
could use for a rebuttal. So if that concludes your presentation from the applicant
Yeah, yeah.
team, we'll log whatever time is remaining, which could be used for an open rebuttal. Otherwise, Q&A, we could perform leisurely.
That's fine. Just a side note on the so-called misuse storage, there are some cages down there that have been there for a while. They shouldn't be there, but they were brought down for some scrap metal pickup, and they got left behind. As far as any other debris, there are no paints or solvents or anything stored on site, nothing that doesn't belong to the train. And I have personally collected garbage from the parking lot, so there's some trash in the trash cans in some of the photos. But that stuff I've collected from the parking lot mainly because we don't have any fluorescent fixtures down there. So anyway, that's it.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you very much. One more note. We've taken away 7 truckloads of green waste from the area. We've pulled out small trees, some bushes, shrubs, weeds, and we've paid for that ourselves and happy to do it to maintain a safe and visually improved site.
Thank you. Does that conclude your presentation? All right, thank you. So we can log the time remaining and now bring it back to the commission if there's any questions either for staff or the applicant, or if there's no immediate questions following the applicant's presentation, we could open public comment. All right. Okay.
I was going to say, we can ask questions after public.
Oh, yes.
Yeah? Okay, good. I can wait.
Okay, sounds good. I will open public comment for this agenda item. Are there any cards from anyone in the public? Or I mean, in the council chambers in person?
We have not received any, Chair Berman.
Okay. How about on Zoom?
Chair, there are no raised hands.
All right. Then I'll close public comment and bring it back to the commission for those clarification questions or deliberation. Yep, Vice Chair Hauser.
Well, thank you for answering my question. I was very curious on the bird cages. I don't have questions for you. I think I said this at the last meeting, but this is so cool. And, Pacifica is obviously a city that was formed around a railroad. And you go to Valleymar Station, they've got the little model of the railroad. And I know that my kids think this stuff is super, super cool. So I can't wait to see your progress. And I'm just so excited for you guys.
One item, I'm pretty clear on it, but just to make sure everyone's clear, because I know in your presentation you mentioned moving the rail car to be more prominent on Francisco Boulevard. I do not believe that relocation is before us tonight for approval, correct?
That's correct, Commissioner Berman. That will be a future coastal development permit application.
Yes.
And that was one of my clarifying questions as well, is where its permanent home would be when it's done. I did have another question. I was here actually before I was on commission when you applied the last time for the extension. And I was just curious, people have talked about how long it has been taking, and I get that, believe me, especially the trucks. But I was just curious, what has been some of the recent work that you've completed? I think that might help people understand maybe where the progress is being made and where some of the challenges are.
Bob? We also...
One of them would be a new flooring for the interior of the space. The big deal was the trucks. These are over 100 years old, and finding suitable trucks that match that era and that size was very difficult to find, and we finally went for it and purchased some, as said, from Petaluma. These are huge things. I believe in one of the photographs that was part of the storage that was shown, these are crucial for the car just like any car, the car needs the wheels, or it's just a box. So that was a good move that occurred this year. We're also narrowing the focus of what is the importance of, like, what steps are to be taken. And one of them, and Bob can probably talk about this, is the windows. If we move the car to our ideal spot, which would be closer to the freeway, those windows might want to be put in then rather than damaged during the move. There's what else? We got rail and trucks, rails that we're looking at to find also. And so I've worked with this project since the beginning, and I totally agree that, why it's taken so long. But it's total volunteer. Nobody's getting paid. I'm not a paid supervisor that's from some corporation and stuff like that. It's all community-based, and that's one thing that I loved about Pacifica. I grew up in San Bruno, and I first came over here to Pacifica shooting city council meetings as an internship in broadcasting. And I really fell in love with the community and this community support that they have and the feel of it. And anyway, if you have any other questions.
Thank you. That was really helpful. I appreciate it. And I appreciate what you guys are doing and the volunteer. I know it's really hard to organize and get going with a group of volunteers. You have a lot going on in your lives. I appreciate that. I did, based on the public comment letter we got, I just wanted to comment. I did go by and look. And frankly, I was really surprised at how discreet the whole thing is. And the fence is nicer than any one I have at my house, frankly. So no, I was pretty impressed by that. I was a little concerned about some of the storage items which have been addressed. And I did have a question moving forward about how to avoid that, but it sounds like that wasn't intentional anyway, based on what Bob said. It was just left behind. So appreciate the additional information and sharing it with all of us. Thank you so much.
Mr. Ochi did have, if I might speak, Mr. Ochi did have a comment about materials being used, and we have 2 coats of primer on the train. One is a gray coat, and then I chose a heirloom tomato to support our eventual burgundy, which will be EOC paints. They're oil-based, but they are EOC and approved that way. So to allay his fears about toxins and things like that.
Any other questions, or we could get into deliberation?
Okay. There we go, if I may. So I haven't got the timing on that. A question for staff. The parking lot circulation, in that according to what I'm seeing, the city's planning on the map, it shows new striping, removal of old, et cetera, to address that circulation pattern. And that is correct. That is in the city's future plans, obviously, to restripe the parking lot, move those circulation pattern arrows in the lot.
Thank you, Commissioner Redfield. This is not an approved plan for the relocation. And so what we're seeing on the screen is preliminary. So it will really need to be reviewed at that time to make sure, we're following best practices. The actual location could move a bit, but this is something that our Public Works Department would, of course, also be involved in to make sure that the restriping and reconfiguration of the parking lot, should it move to this permanent location, would meet all the requirements and standards.
And to that, we also have on the map, it appears to be 8 containers with temporary fencing, security fencing, and a gate on the map. And that shows future, that's in the, would that be the northwest corner? That's not us. Of that.
That's showing a staging area. And again, this is a preliminary plan.
That would require permitting.
That would require permitting, including approval by the Planning Commission for the coastal development permit. So that would all be addressed at that time.
And that, according to that, when that comes up, we're going to lose, according to my math, I think it's 11 parking spaces on that
plan going unapproved plan so far going forward. Again, we don't have, and I'd like to thank this group. I mean, doing an amazing job. This is
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. These containers, this is when the city was doing City Hall. That's not there, and the COVID testing thing is long gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think this is kind of out of date for some reason. I don't know why this is here. Because where you see the train is, that's where it's sitting now. And these containers, there was a chain link fence and half dozen containers. That's all gone. So none of this is even there anymore. And we wouldn't need containers for anything in the future fencing.
It seemed excessive, but I had to ask the question because it was on the map.
I have no idea why that's on there. I just want to alleviate your confusion. Yeah, and the tent is going to come down eventually as well.
And thank you, staff. And if I may.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It mentions in the report that I'm asking if any testing or verification of toxic materials has been addressed on the car previously. My concern is previous coatings containing lead.
There's not much left of the original car. There's probably an upper board on the exterior that is pretty much void of paint anyway, and it's about 30 feet long by about 8 inches, and there's almost nothing on it. Everything is new, inside and out, so there's nothing flaking off, there's nothing falling, and nothing's being sanded off or scraped off. It's now in the finishing stages, so to answer, Bob tried to answer, the work that's being done was the flooring, the ends of the roof are being finished, and the interior trim is going in, and it's a lot of tedious work, so there's a lot happening.
Right.
Yeah, you just can't see it.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, and you're more than welcome to come and look at it anytime if you have some, I think you get a kick out of it. It's pretty neat. The windows we don't want to put in yet because potential vandals.
Yes.
And then moving, if I put the windows in now and and something goes wrong with the project, it's over. They can't afford to replace those windows. The windows are almost $40,000. And they can't be installed prior to moving. They shouldn't be installed prior to moving either. They might be able to be put in. I think they possibly could, but again, I don't want to put them in. The tent's covered, and somebody goes in there and starts breaking things or starting fires. I mean, somebody could get in there and go crazy. So, we tried to make it as secure as possible.
Right.
But you can't stop everybody, unfortunately.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Let me ask, this might be Deidre's question. In the intended permanent location, we just saw your rendering, so I think that's very good. Was any thought ever put into moving the car to Valimar Station where it clearly was before?
That was a private lease.
Yes.
With the folks that own that land. Diane was very generous with us, and it needed to be moved. She had other plans for the property. And we had moved from Calera Creek to there. And each move is quite an expense.
Yes.
We're happy to do it. We need a safe place to park. The reason we want it close to the museum is because we'll have one administration and 2 historic sites. It's both efficient for security as well and for cross-historic fertilization. Because often when people come to the museum, then they'll also be able to see the train eventually.
Right, right. Yeah, I understand the logic. It just, that's a rail with the Valimar Station there, the other rail cars that are there.
Those are Southern Pacific cars, by the way.
In
They're
my
Shore.
mind, it was like we could have 2 spaces, the Little Brown Church office with the Historical Society and maybe another economic area with the rail. And I know that's private, so I think this is a very good idea to put it up front on that.
Also, if I might add, we rent the Little Brown Church. We have a 3-day seminar coming up, which provides funds for our exhibitions and for keep the lights on. And because although the city is most generous in leasing it to us for $1 a year, there's many other expenses that we need, and we've just spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on the landscaping to beautify the area, and we're happy to do that to improve the area, and it's attractive. And so the train will also be rented out to rail fans and for events as well.
All right.
It's a community gathering space.
I also had a question on the trucks. I saw the trucks today, and you described they're 100 years old. They're thank God that's American iron. That's lasted a while, but the wood has seen better days, for sure. And you answered a question I had of like what are those trucks going to be placed on? Because I know the point load on those is immense, even though the car isn't exceptionally heavy.
Right.
And I believe you stated that the engineering studies have been done for that, and you can obtain the rail, the ballast, the compacted
The same place
material
we
that will.
purchased the trucks are also going to provide the gravel and the ties and we have some ties coming from the actual Ocean Shore Railroad if we can find them. They're underneath the Pedro Point Community Center in the hall. They're tucked underneath in the basement.
Good, good. Well, it comes to mind, as we mentioned, ties. In the past, those have been, those are not even allowed anymore in the state of California. Are we using antique ties? We are. Is that going to be an issue?
We'll have to explore that. I don't know that question. I don't know the answer to that question.
That may become an issue going forward, especially since this is a coastal zone as well.
We've problem solved for over a decade.
Yes.
We'll continue to problem
I understand,
solve.
and I appreciate that very much. A portion I read on page 44 in the permit application describes minor restoration work. Would you describe that this project as minor restoration work?
No.
I think that should be a
Yeah,
clarifying thing
This
in
is
the
an
language.
Extraordinary effort. And-
Yes, I agree.
And we appreciate your support, and we appreciate the city council's support. It's been ongoing, and it continues to give us heart. Thank you.
All right, one last question. I don't know if staff can answer this, or you may be. Is there a stormwater management plan in place for the site as the work continues?
We can work on that. We have able volunteers that will be glad to provide that information for you.
And that would need to be in compliance with the city's stormwater management program.
Is there excuse me, through the chair, is there a ground disturbance that would trigger that?
Let me ask my clarification first. Are you referring to BMP stormwater management from an erosion control standpoint, or?
Runoff standpoint.
Yeah,
Yep.
so
Since
because
that is all
construction,
almost
a SWIP's not required, but just best management practices for
We
runoff,
want to protect our investment.
heat,
Oh, yes.
et cetera, erosion
Earthquake as
control.
well. We're having earthquake studies done as well, so it doesn't tip over.
So I guess just to clarify Commissioner Redfin's question, if you agree, just want to make sure that there's best management practices in place during construction, given construction equipment present, although a SWIP will not be required, but just making sure if we're handling potentially hazardous material, even though it's antique, that we're making sure it doesn't get into our storm drain system.
Yeah, even just, it's virtually all that area is non-permeable surface. So there will be runoff, generally, rice wattles or whatever in the best management practices to keep any debris, sawdust included, things of that nature from entering the storm system.
Yeah, it's all very minimal anyway. It's, like I said, most of it's finished work now at this point in time. And even setting the train on a foundation would be, I think the only thing that would be of any concern is any concrete poured for 2 pads for,
And we're
for the
talking,
trucks.
we know we're talking
Stormwater,
future, obviously
all that stuff.
permitted,
Yeah,
permitted items down the road.
There's no construction right now.
Right.
And in the future, I don't think, that the construction would be minimal for it. And the railroad ties would not be creosote. There's no reason for that. It's a display anyway, per se.
Right.
Foundation, so yeah, that's easy.
And lastly, I would just like to thank you all for.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Huge undertaking.
Thanks. A lot of work. It's hard to explain unless you're there. And correct illustration helps. This is a little confusing. So I understand your confusion. Yeah, there's quite a bit going on there. Thanks.
Thank you.
And I guess related to that, because I agree the diagram is a bit confusing to reflect the current condition, can that be amended for the minutes? Or at least discussion on this added to the minutes for clarification?
Yes, we need the applicant to provide an updated site plan. So staff's not able to make a site plan for them. And so we do need an updated.
They have one.
Site plan.
Yeah, current plan as to what it is now, yeah, they have.
Yes.
Yeah, just not, usually somebody travels with them, but nobody has them here tonight, so. But there is it's basically this simplified, just to show where it is now, so it's pretty.
One was submitted to the city at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have requested an updated site plan, so we're still waiting to receive that.
We'll send Bob down tomorrow.
You got it.
This
Excellent.
And I don't feel a need, I think I followed what the amendments to the site plan would be. I don't feel a need to review that site plan, but does anyone in the commission feel a need to? I think that could just be attached to the minutes.
Yeah, and again, this is not the plan that's being approved this evening, so this is, but
the current location is being approved this evening.
right, for the temporary, correct. So yes, we can attach
Yeah, okay.
the updated site plan.
Sounds good.
I did also want to just call the commission's attention to condition of approval number 9 on packet page 57 that does require compliance with stormwater management and best practices.
Thank you.
Yeah, and any future work on the permanent location locating on a foundation will also be subject to a building permit. And so at that time, we'll be reviewing for compliance, with a number of codes.
Thank you. Yeah, I know that's usually in there in the COAs. I have a question mainly for my own understanding, related to the large rectangular historic photo. So, yeah, the one that's here today in the frame. So was the Ocean Shore Railway, it passed in front of the Little Brown Church where the Little Brown Church currently is? Is that correct? Yes. Okay. And the Little Brown Church wasn't relocated, right? No. It was, so that's, okay. So you can see. Yeah. Yeah. So then Valimar Station was Southern Pacific? No, it was all, okay. Just those cars at Valimar Station are Southern Pacific cars, is that correct?
That's one of the importance that I see.
Sure.
Yeah, no, it's great. Thank you. Appreciate that, yeah.
Yeah, if you could speak, sorry to bring you up here, if you could speak into the microphone for those calling in.
Yeah, that's one of the important things that I think that this card does show, is it's the only original Ocean Shore car left. There's one that's in worse condition, believe it or not, than ours, but it's, I don't know, it's somewhere else. Yeah, so what's very confusing is at Valimar, you see all these train cars, and none of those are Ocean Shore cars. And so hopefully this helps educate the public in the real facts of the Ocean Shore Railroad and how it also had a tunnel before we had the Tom Lantos tunnel. It's just, preserving the facts and the history of the city.
Thank you, because I certainly, I thought that they were all Ocean Shore, and I kind of had the same question of why don't we just put them all at Valimar Station? But now I understand.
Yeah, and there's even misinformation out there on the web that says the Gorilla Barbecue is Ocean Shore, and it's not. It's the importance of a historical society is shown. So,
thank you. I appreciate that.
This is just a minor point, but I would wager that they probably aren't even the same vintage as your car, are they?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Well, those were all of my questions. Any other questions or comments or perhaps a motion?
Could I make one point of clarification?
Sure.
Thank you, Chair Berman. I believe it was Commissioner Redfield had brought up the reference to the work being a minor restoration work. And the reason why it's written like that is because this is work that isn't involving heavy equipment, doesn't require a building permit, is using small hand tools. So while the work is certainly immense. I think it would still qualify in terms of the findings as a minor restoration because it's really about how that work is being done.
I'd be happy to make a motion, Chair. Okay, I move that the Planning Commission finds the project is exempt from CEQA, approves temporary use permit TUP-1-25 and CDP-475-25 by adopting the attached resolution, including conditions of approval in Exhibit A, and incorporates all maps and testimony into the record by reference. And I would note that we don't need an additional condition for the storm, which was, I believe, condition 9, but we do need, perfect, yes, the new condition of approval that only things stored on site, or only things pertaining to the rail car restoration will be stored on site. And I incorporate that into the motion.
Thank you.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion made by Vice Chair Hauser, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Motion passes 6 yea, 1 recused.
All right, thank you. All right. Moving on to commission communications. Are there any commission communications?
Just like to say we have Fog Fest coming up. I believe it's the 27th and 28th, the last weekend of September. This has been another immense volunteer project of the city that draws in thousands of people over the 2 days. Local entertainment, local businesses. It's a great event, and the weather is usually not foggy. Can't guarantee a darn thing around here, but that's it. So please come out and support all the community organizations that benefit from this. And it's great. You'll meet old friends, you'll make new ones, and it's a really great event. So 27th and 28th, I believe, are the dates.
I have a communication item. So last month, I, as well as a few other commissioners, attended the city council meeting where council reviewed the zoning and general plan amendments. And I believe just before 1 a.m., our recommendation was adopted. There were a few modifications that were made, but in general, our recommended zoning and general plan amendments were, for the most part, adopted. All right. I'll move it on to staff communications.
Thank you, Chair Berman. So as I mentioned earlier, we are looking to have a joint study session with Planning Commission and City Council in October, just related to some of our housing element implementation work. So just kind of an overview of some state law, affordable housing, and our inclusionary and density bonus ordinances. So that is coming up. I believe everyone responded to the poll. If you haven't yet, please let me know. And we'll make sure that that is all scheduled and on the books. And that will be with the Heart of San Mateo.
I'm looking forward to that. In that vein, HCD's website shows that their response to us is due on Halloween. Do we, yeah, fancy. Do we anticipate hearing from them prior or?
I had some communication with HCD earlier this morning. They had a couple of clarifying questions and indicated, that they do have the full 60 days, and said to expect a response within the coming weeks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And actually, sorry, I forgot to bring up, I wanted to re-ask one of the questions that we received in oral communications regarding fire safety and code enforcement. I do know that we have our emergency preparedness committee or commission. I'm not sure if that's a commission or a committee. I think this is probably in their purview to kind of help advise on, but wondering is there a code enforcement officer that goes around and looks at buffering structures throughout the city? I mean, that would be quite a task.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question, Commissioner Berman. Okay, so this is related to building and fire codes, and our fire hazard severity zones, which are designated by the state fire marshal. So there are different regulations depending on what that designation is. And I know in the upcoming triennial code updates, the state has taken all of the disparate fire safety regulations and consolidated them into a new Part 7 of the building code. And so, but that is for really the fire to enforce. And we look at those in building permits, and there will be some new requirements coming online related to that go into effect in January of 2026. So that's really within the purview of our, the North County Fire Authority.
And does our emergency preparedness committee review or partner with the fire department on anything like that?
I don't know what their relationship is to things like fire inspections.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So one thing, so I have a house in Lake County that the Valley Fire burned up to 4 houses of my house. And we got some very strict regulations out. You know, we would get defensible space and they'd come back and inspect on that. And I think it's really important, but I think a lot of people, maybe it would be about education. Maybe the committee that you were referring to could do something about community education around defensible space, because it's super, super important. And there's just a few things you can do that can make a huge difference, can literally save your structure in a fire. Just a thought.
Then that's all I have. Does staff have any other communication items?
I did not have any additional communications.
All right. Then
actually,
yep.
I will say, just to Commissioner Davis's point, so we will be talking a little bit at the upcoming city council meeting about those changes. I can only speak very surface level, but there will just be some additional information at that council meeting.
Thank you.
At the risk of, I promise it won't delay it. Can I just, I'm going to make a request. It's an ask, actually. And maybe there's a reason why we couldn't do it, but is it possible to put a starting page number on each item on the agenda? Just a starting packet page number.
I don't believe our agenda management software is able to do that.
Oh.
Okay. I know for me personally, though, I do go through and I find my items and I say, oh, staff report, page 547, resolution.
Right, and I do the same thing, but I was thinking if one person could do it instead of 500, wouldn't that be awesome?
It would, yeah. Well, but I will pass that feedback on to the city clerk as we're modernizing. I do think agenda management software is a bit limited.
I know with a few PDF viewers, you could have a sidebar with the table of contents. That's usually helpful to jump to places. That's what I use.
I was thinking as much for the public as for myself.
Sure.
Actually, more so.
All right. Then I think we could take a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second the motion?
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion made by Commissioner Davis, seconded by Commissioner Devine. Motion passes 6, 1 absent.
Thank you.